Why is the onus on me to prove to you that there's ponds made out of pudding and there's resorts
Of course
that
not.
angels
This is
go
ridiculous.
to?
In fact,
It's absolutely.
It almost borders on mental illness.
It's fascinating to hear these two televangelists talking about other televangelists and how, I guess, mentally ill they are in their eyes, quote unquote, right? If you're unfamiliar with these people, this is Mario Murillo on the right and Stephen Strang on the left. And there are a couple of televangelists themselves, but there are some people in their orbit that they don't like, that they're unhappy with. Kat Kerr, Robin Bullock, and other people like that, who, by the way, they've shared a stage with before. But Kat Kerr and Robin Bullock are kind of the focus of their ire at this moment because Kat Kerr makes claims about heaven that are just insane. If you don't know Kat Kerr, you may remember her from this viral clip. Came out late August 2019.
At this moment, we take authority over Dorian that has no right off the coast of this state or anywhere. And we hit that storm to the east right now. And I'm going to do it 3 times.
So anyway, yeah, that's Kat Kerr. You may remember her from that. Well, Mario Murillo is sick of Kat Kerr and wanted to start a civil war with her. Now, I've talked about this before, but there's an update to the Civil War. So I'm going to go through the whole thing. Let's talk about it. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. Early December 2022, I think this is roughly when they started kind of warring with each other. Now, Murillo at the time didn't come out and explain who he was referring to, but to people who watch this stuff regularly, who watch all of these prophets, quote unquote, it was pretty obvious exactly who he was talking about. Check this out.
Anyone that said that something was going to turn out a certain way and it didn't should be labeled a false prophet.
He's acting as though he didn't contribute to this whole thing, as though he isn't just as guilty as these other people. What he's saying is, if somebody claims that Donald Trump is going to win the election and God told them that he's going to win the election and then he doesn't win, they should be labeled a false prophet. Now, I agree with that, but seriously, how do you not see your role in this? Mario Murillo was just as unglued from reality as anybody else and made just as many unhinged claims as Kat Kerr. He's trying to pretend he's better than them, higher or more superior to them. He's not.
If somebody said there's going to be a red tsunami and we get a pink leaky faucet, then you got to look at them and say, well, why am I following them?
He's talking about the 2022 midterm elections, or yeah, the 2022 midterms. A bunch of prophets, supposed prophets, Kat Kerr and Robin Bullock and others, Johnny Enlow, they claimed that Republicans were going to win the House and the Senate and, everything there was to win. All the way across, there's going to be a massive red wave, was the claim. I mean, Julie Green is a prime example. She made all kinds of claims about the 2022 midterm elections. You guys remember Herschel Walker? He was running in Georgia for the Senate, and it was kind of a toss-up, and he ended up losing.
My children, many warnings I have given to you, but there is coming a day that it will be too late. So listen to these words and listen to my prophets. And dare to believe me more than your enemies.
Literally crying because she's receiving this prophecy from God that the Republicans are going to win in 2022. We're going to win big because God hates the Democrats. This is one of those prophets that is the focus in this televangelist civil war right now. Julie Green.
More than religion, more than the news stations, more than the governments, more than your doctors.
Dare to believe me more than your doctors. I mean, she's also a COVID denier and anti-vaxxer, the whole nine.
More than your bank accounts. Dare to believe me more than what you see in what you hear. Herschel Walker will be in the news, and victory will be with his name.
Ooh, that's a pretty tall claim, and it's pretty pointed too, isn't it? She directly claimed God told her. This is a message she's reading from God, okay? God planted this information in her head. This is like a new book of the Bible in her mind. The book of Green, verse 3, chapter 2 or whatever, right? That's what she believes. And the thing that the book said was Herschel Walker will win. Just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Mario Murillo is correct. It's an embarrassment to the movement, to these people. Thing is, he's not much better. So he says if somebody predicts a red wave and then you get a pink leaky faucet, like in the 2022 midterms, they should be labeled a false prophet. This is Kat Kerr talking about that.
And I can let you know he does have a plan with the red tsunami. And yes, it did happen.
No, it didn't happen. This is after the election happened, and she could clearly see that she was wrong about her prophecies. And what did she do? Instead of admitting she was wrong, admitting she didn't hear the voice of God, made it all up, she doubled down. Just like with Donald Trump.
Why am I listening to them?
Right?
When they start telling you the bizarre things that they said they saw in heaven,
There's a whole place called Jello Land in heaven. It really does exist. And then part of that land, of course, there's houses made out of candy. They're made out of all kinds of things. Flowers, a whole house made out of flowers, and they sing to you all the time when you come to your mansion.
So Kat Kerr's whole bit is she claims that God takes her to heaven regularly, and God told her to have pink hair so that she'll stand out and she'll be able to communicate what heaven is like to the people around her. God sent her on a mission to disseminate information about heaven. And what did God want her to say about it? There are flowers everywhere. There's candy. It's kind of like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory a little bit, apparently. Not for nothing, but Kat Kerr is not the only one that talks about all of this bizarre stuff. Like I said, Robin Bullock, Johnny Enlow, Julie Green, and some others. But listen to Robin Bullock talk about this exact subject. This is from late August 2021.
I've been to heaven in different throne rooms.
No, you haven't.
A few times.
No.
And every time I was in a throne room, he has different throne rooms for different things. I
No, he doesn't.
watched him create the world one time.
Wow.
It was the most amazing thing you've
No, you didn't.
ever seen. And when you got to the end of it, but the white throne, it's set up on about 7 tiers. And
Like a 7-tier cake, kind of? Okay.
when you look down at it, it was massive. It was a massive thing.
Kind of like your mom.
And it was inside this cube of like gelatin. It was like clear gelatin.
God lives in Jello. Okay.
And it went around in a square.
God, dude. Just these people, seriously, get help, okay? There's something not right about what is happening in these people's heads. So, yeah, he's not just talking about Kat Kerr. Lots of people. But I think it could be argued that maybe he's talking about Kat Kerr specifically right now. I don't think he likes her very much.
that's, look, that's the same as the 6-foot rule.
He's talking about the social distancing. He thinks social distancing is fake.
Doesn't make any sense.
It does, but okay. I mean, we're hearing from scientist Mario Murillo over here, right? Research professor Mario Murillo knows all about social distancing, and he's telling us it doesn't make sense.
If Jesus wanted to, he can make himself big enough to hold this whole earth in his hand. Or he can be his normal size on the earth, which is around 6 foot tall.
Oh, wow. Really tall then. Okay.
Okay. Well, Mario proved to me that those things aren't in heaven. Easy. They're stupid.
Okay, that's not proving anything.
It is stupid to imagine that that's going to be in heaven.
I agree, okay. But you haven't proved anything. They asked you to prove it.
And it's not an amusement park.
Anybody can fly in heaven. You have a place where you learn, though. You do get to learn. You go by this place called Flyby near the.
A place called Flyby. So it's like a store, or it's like a a private business that exists in heaven. I guess heaven is capitalist. Is that right? What about competition? Is there competition in heaven? One of the fundamental pieces of capitalism. What about wealth inequality? That's an aspect of capitalism too.
Near the amusement park, and you learn how to fly. Because
The false prophets were sent at a key moment to distract the church.
So anyway, the point is, he does not like Kat Kerr specifically. He zeroes in on the things that she says, although she's not the only one saying them. And this civil war rages on. They are really laying into these false prophets heavily right now. They being Mario Murillo and, Stephen Strang. Yeah, Stephen Strang and others. Check this out. Early February 2023, he had this to say.
To those who are rational believers, who trust the word of God, who believe in the fivefold gifts, will understand what I'm about to say. The motivation for my blog was, number one,
He wrote a blog post about, false prophets.
Lost souls. Because Peter said these false teachers would cause the way of truth to be slandered. Go on the internet. There's a site called Christianity Nightmares.
Christian Nightmares, actually, and I follow them on the Twit. Yeah, they like to clip out absolutely crazy things from televangelists. Kind of like Right Wing Watch, Hemant Mehta, other. I mean, I clip things out too. I don't post them to Twitter anymore, sadly. I'm so disappointed by where Twitter went, but anyway.
And one of their main features to demonstrate to people why you should never have anything to do with Christianity is they're playing videos of these prophets and what they're saying.
Yeah, so Christian Nightmares, who's talking about, and I don't think he's saying you shouldn't have anything to do with Christianity necessarily, but he's most definitely saying these people don't know what they are talking about. They are full of it. They're liars. They have no sense of morality, apparently. No sense of right and wrong to be so willing to, sucker people into this stuff. Just sad, man. So early February 2023, same month, he came out there and he was doing a full thing. He was really laying into these people, going everywhere he could, making every appearance possible, and laying into Kat Kerr. He went on the Strang Report. This is part of the clip that we saw in the very beginning, the intro clip. Check this out, early February 2023.
And it's our silence that's the problem. It isn't just the garish statements and the extreme off-the-rail nuttiness. And when someone asks me, well, how do you know there aren't those things in heaven? Well, I also don't know what it would be like to put my head in a dryer, but I can pretty well predict what it would be like.
How? That's what they're asking. How? How do you predict that? The answer really is he has no idea. The Bible does not describe heaven in vivid detail. That's why it was possible for Kat Kerr to lie about it, pretend that she went to heaven and saw all this other stuff. That's why it was even possible for her to do. You have no idea what heaven is like, but he just knows that it can't be the way that she describes it for some reason, some unknown reason.
And that's how absurd it is for me to sit there and say, why is the onus on me to prove to you that there's ponds made out of pudding?
Dude, this guy seems to get it. I love it. He gets it. I could say the exact same thing to you, Mario. Why is the onus on me to prove to you that evangelicals' interpretation of God is real? Why is that on me? He uses logic when it's convenient and throws it right out the window every other day of the week.
And there's resorts
Of course
that
not.
angels
This is
go
ridiculous.
to.
In fact,
it's absolutely.
It almost borders on mental illness as far as I'm concerned. And
I love that he's saying that it borders on mental illness for Kat Kerr to say the things she's saying. I tend to agree. I think it borders it, but it's not mental illness. That's one of the fundamental things about it. But you could say the exact same thing about what these people believe. Seriously, you think Kat Kerr is the only one making you look bad? It's you guys! Now, as far as the mental illness aspect goes, that's the scary thing about it, that it's not mental illness. That's what makes this so deeply disturbing. The Parkland, Florida attacker, Nicholas Cruz? He didn't have a mental illness. He didn't have any problems, and he still went in. I mean, he had problems, but he didn't have any diagnosed conditions or even diagnosable to my knowledge. And he still walked into that school and did all that stuff to those poor people. That's what makes this scary. You can't give somebody a pill to resolve the chemical imbalance in their brain that's happening right now, and then they're just normal. You have to talk them out of these beliefs, and sometimes it's not even possible then. And the beliefs are disconnected from reality. It's crazy stuff. And I'm not even talking about Kat Kerr. I'm talking about Mario Murillo. The belief that the founding fathers were Jews secretly, and they came over here through the Caucasus Mountains and then made a new covenant with New Israel and all this other garbage. The idea that the Pilgrims worshipped Jehovah. I mean, Jays had only existed for like 150 years. It was 1620 when the Pilgrims came along, and Jays were invented in the 1400s. I mean, nothing about anything that he says or believes or does makes any sense at all, logically or historically or any other way. But he believes it anyways. And how do we get him out of this headspace? You can't give him a pill to resolve this. It's not mental illness. If it were, this would be resolvable a lot easier.
Some of these things by themselves disqualify. By themselves.
Exactly.
I mean, why discuss it? And the fact is that they use superstition,
Yes.
to say that God is going to judge if you don't believe them. That is some kind of
Yes.
superstition. They're trying to make people afraid God's going to zap them.
It's like he's connecting all the dots. Yes, exactly. That's what these people do on screen. That's what you do, Strang. That's what you do, Mario. Seriously, how do they not recognize, oh, it's okay when I do it because, I have the truth. Excuse me, but I have the truth. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the TV show or the movie Jesus Camp, the documentary. It was about a woman named Becky who was brainwashing children. And she justified the brainwashing. She said, Muslims are out there like strapping bombs to their chests. We need to train kids to be that loyal to Jesus that they'd be willing to do something that extreme. And her justification? I have the truth. Excuse me, but I have the truth, quote unquote.
All those different places, because we have, excuse me, but we have the truth.
No connection to reality. Doesn't realize that it's the tactics that are wrong. Whether you have the truth or not, it doesn't justify all of the crazy things that you do. These people, Strang and Murillo, aren't connecting the dots. That they do the exact same thing. They use fear tactics too. They brainwash people too. And why is it okay when you do it, but not when Kat Kerr does it? Because we have the truth, right?
Don't believe them. That is some kind of superstition. They're trying to make people afraid God's going to zap them. They should be afraid that God's going to zap them. When you say, thus saith the Lord, and you're speaking as a false prophet, they're going to have to stand in front of God. And I believe actually long before then, these ministries are going to tumble. And people need to be warned. People need to avoid these people. People need to quit giving them money.
Well, give us some names. Who are you talking about? God, I want them to name names so badly, right?
Watching them on YouTube, unless you're wanting a few laughs. I mean, seriously.
Oh, so it's okay to watch these people on YouTube and have a few laughs when it's the bad ones, right? But when people clip out Mario Murillo and have a few laughs at him, he loses his mind. Oh, that's not okay. You can't do that. Decorum. Civility. Look, this is part of the deal, okay? You say crazy things, I'm going to clip you out and talk about it.
The body of Christ, as we call it, the church, which has many forms, needs to get a life and to see what's going on.
Wow. So is he saying that, like, Christians overall have to get a life and see what's going on because Christians are falling for this stuff? Fascinating, dude. So that lands us in mid-June 2023. Murillo is still leaning into the Civil War, and he explains why in this clip. He explains why he's zeroed in on this one subject. Check this out.
I'm dealing with it again because now I believe that Trump's reelection will be impacted by false prophets.
And that's what it's really about. Election season is coming up, and he doesn't want Trump to be hurt, like his electoral chances to be damaged by Kat Kerr and all the other prophets, supposed prophets. Unfortunately for him, he's hurting them. He's hurting Trump's chances just as bad as anybody. Self-avowed Christian nationalist, by the by. He's a self-avowed Christian nationalist. He holds that title for himself. He likes being called that. You are making it worse for Trump. You are not moderate by any stretch of the imagination. So nobody to the left of hunting the homeless for sport could imagine supporting the things that you say and do. That's really the issue here.
Will be impacted by false prophets, making us all look crazy.
Making us all look crazy, as if he's not making them look crazy.
We have to disavow, because Trump is running again, we need to reiterate again where we stand. We have to stand for what's right. And I'm doing it as a soul winner, because the audiences that I speak to have become aware of these people and place.
Oh, that's what it's about, huh? People at your church are coming up and asking you about Kat Kerr and Robin Bullock and Johnny Enlow and stuff, and why you don't talk to them or talk about the things that they believe and all that. Does it bother him that he runs in the same circles? Is that what it is?
Places like Right Wing Watch, especially, and others, are using it as ammunition against Trump right now. And I think and more than that, it's dangerous because they're using it as ammunition to people that I want to reach for Jesus. And I want them to know we're not all crazy.
No, you are just as crazy as them, honestly. You may not claim that heaven is made of pudding, but the claims that you make are just as unhinged from reality. Maybe even more, some of them. I mean, here's just one example of his unhinged beliefs and his thought process. Remember all that logical deduction he was doing earlier? Where, well, I don't have the burden of proof. You have the burden of proof if you're making the claim. That's basically what he was saying when he said, why is the onus on me to prove it? Listen to all of that logical deduction go right out the window when it's convenient for him. This is from October 11th, 2022.
But the devil overplayed his hand. Gene, my son walked up to me last night and he said, Dad, you got to see this post that's on Reddit.
Sorry about the audio. I don't know why his audio is bad. He says his son walked up to him and said, Dad, you got to see this post on Reddit.
And I looked at it and I couldn't believe it. Here's a 15-year-old boy that decided to tell his dad, I don't want to be a girl after all. And the father is trying to talk him into it still.
So it's a trans person, some random person who unnamed, unknown if this story is even real. Some unnamed, unknown, anonymous person claims to be male, but is trans and presented as a woman for some period of time unknown to us. And the trans person told the dad he didn't want to be a woman anymore. Okay, go on. I'm with you.
He's trying to talk him into it still.
Wow.
Because he said, you look good in a dress. I've paid all this money for the hormone blockers.
You see how his logical deduction went straight out the window, right? He takes literally any source, anything, to prove his point. Some unknown rando on the internet claiming something. He'll take it. Whatever he can get his hands on that reaffirms the things that he believes. Insane. Kat Kerr isn't the one making you look insane, Mario. It's you. Anyway, so the dad in this fictitious story says his kid looks good in a dress. Like, they're playing up the groomer aspect of this, aren't they? People who are in favor of the trans community or pro-trans or allies or whatever are groomers. And this is a perfect example of it. That's what he's trying to communicate right now. Does it get lower? Seriously. The only thing that any allies want, me included, the only thing I want is for people to be able to live their lives the way they want to live their lives, period. Identity is self-ascribed. You can be whoever you want to be. That's our right as freedom-loving Americans, right? What happened to all that freedom-loving American stuff? Again, another one of those values goes right out the window when it's not convenient for him. He never cared about freedom. He never cared about logical deduction. He never cared about any of it. It was all about furthering his own selfish goals the entire time and using any piece of propaganda that he can possibly get to get him there. So the dad says he's upset he spent all the money on hormones and the kid has to use the hormones because he spent all the money on it. Absurd. Parents only want their kid to live their best life, and that's it. They only want them to be happy. This is very obviously Mario Murillo trying to push the idea that, cis people want others to be trans. If they're not trans, they'll be upset by that. It's ridiculous.
Hormone blockers. And I want you to have the surgery because I love the way you look in a dress. You are far prettier when you're feminine. See, this is what we're up against, ladies.
No, it's not. This fictitious thing that you just made up does not represent reality in any way. He says hormone blockers, so I assume that means puberty blockers. That's what he's referring to, right? That means the kid could not have hit puberty yet. That means the kid is at the very most 12. At the very most, right? Probably more like 10 or even younger. So this dad, in this fabricated story that he's telling, is giving this 10-year-old kid puberty blockers and is planning this trans-affirming surgery for the kid. I hate to break it to you, but trans-affirming bottom surgery has been banned for minors in the United States since day one. There has never, ever in the United States been a trans-affirming bottom surgery for anybody under 18. Not a single instance of it. You know what there are instances of, though? I think there are about 2 to 250 top surgeries for 15, 16, and 17-year-olds in the past few years. It's hard to get data on this, but it's in the hundreds, not the thousands. Do you know how many plastic surgeries there have been on children? According to the American Society of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgeons, ASPS, in 2020, nearly 230 cosmetic surgeries and nearly 140,000 non-invasive cosmetic procedures were performed on teens ages 13 to 19. 230,000 full-blown surgeries, lip injections, facelifts, or what, I don't even know what they do. I have no clue. Full-blown surgeries. And 140,000 non-invasive cosmetic procedures, I assume Botox injections. Total, that's 370,000 cosmetic procedures on teenagers, on minors, children. Almost 400,000 since 2020. Where were you? Where was all that ire over that? That's still happening, by the way, right now. Rhinoplasties, nose jobs and stuff. Right now, thousands, tens, hundreds of thousands of teenagers getting this stuff done. Where were you? Where are you on this? And how many gender-affirming bottom surgeries? 0. How many top surgeries? No more than 200 or 300. It's hard to know for sure. It's in the hundreds. Guy lives in a fantasy fabricated to outrage people. That is the entire purpose of the reality that he's created here.
Feminine. See, this is what we're up against, ladies and gentlemen. This is how far it's gone. This is why people are rebelling and leaving the Democratic Party.
No, it's not. It's simply not happening.
Because it is demonic. It is evil what's going on right now.
The KKK has always used this exact strategy that he's using right now. Say something really, really extreme and force your opponent to denounce that extreme thing. The KKK did it in the 1950s. They used to go around to towns and tell people their children had to marry a black person as part of integration. If you don't marry a black person, you'll go to jail. It's illegal not to.
And they have told my children that they have to marry, and my child doesn't even know what a is, but from the sound, it has scared them, and they have come home just crying. Mommy, do I have to marry Negress? And my answer in handling all the fears that children come in is that you can marry whomever you wish.
The KKK used the same strategy in the 50s, the same one that Mario Murillo is using right now. Say something really, really unglued from reality and extreme to convince everybody on the other side to move over to your side. The left wants children, 10-year-olds to get bottom surgery. It's not true. I didn't want to force children to get married to black people either. I wasn't in favor of that. But by denouncing this fabricated thing, you've suddenly moved yourself into a defensive position and moved others closer to them. Because now you've found a way to agree with them on something and fight against your own side, which is fighting for the rights of everybody to do what they want with their lives, to just live their life the way that they see fit. If they want to marry a black person, they should be allowed to do that. If they want to get trans-affirming surgery, they should be allowed to do that. But nobody is trying to give bottom surgery to a 10-year-old. Hell, no one's giving top surgery. No surgeries on 10-year-olds. This does not happen, ever. Nobody is forcing white kids to marry black kids. It's the same propaganda method that's been used throughout history. It does not surprise me to hear him using the same technique the KKK used. Anyway, let me know what you think about this dude in the comments. I think this is absurd, and I think that he doesn't realize in this televangelist civil war that he's waging right now that he's the problem, too. In addition to the others, he's the problem. Let me know what you think. Cotton and polyester couldn't be more different. Cotton is natural, breathable, and absorbent, and sustainable. Polyester, on the other hand, is a synthetic fiber that doesn't breathe well, repels water, and isn't sustainable. Okay, my mistake. I apologize. Thank you for clearing that up for me, Mindcrafty013. My mistake. I'll make sure that makes it to the video.